Okay, good.
Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to Avenir. Allow me to briefly introduce you to the institute and the department. Established as the Roorkee College in 1847, our institute was rechristened as the Thompson College of Civil Engineering in 1854, formerly known as the University of Roorkee. This institution also happens to be the first technical university of independent India. In the year 2001, it was elevated to the status of an IIT. Now coming to our department, it was commissioned in 1998. The Department of Management Studies rightfully believes the juxtaposition of theory and practice is what turns MBA into a fruitful venture. With eminent faculty from both academia and industry, the department also boasts a large number of research scholars. Now coming to our achievements and awards, it is a matter of great pride for us that IIT Roorkee was ranked first in management in India by Times Higher Education World University Rankings for Emerging Economies 2019. While IIT Roorkee as a whole was ranked the third best university in the country, it was placed at 35th position globally. IIT Roorkee also secured first position among the IITs in citations per faculty parameter by QS World University Rankings. Leaving behind many reputable B schools, including many IIMs, over the last 3 years, IIT Roorkee has consistently figured among the top 10 MBA colleges in India as per the National Institutional Ranking Framework brought out by the Ministry of Human Resource Development. We are ranked 12th as per the NIRF 2020 and first in the parameter of research and professional practice. Students here have actively participated in various national and international level competitions and exams. A few highlights are: 4 students have cleared CFA Level 1 and 1 has cleared FRM Level 1 in 2019. 4 students have bagged All India ranks in top 15 in Flip National Challenge 2019. And also many have won accolades in various B School events held in IIMs, IITs and other management colleges. Now looking at the demographics of batch 2020, it was its batch of 77 students having an average work experience of 25 months. The pre-placement offers witnessed a gigantic 300% increase as compared to the previous years. Some of our recruiters have been KPMG, RBS, Infosys, HCL, Future First, and several others. Now coming to the batch of 2021, it's a batch of 48 students and has an average working experience of 23 months. The summer placement offered a variety of roles and experiences. Some of our recruiters have been KPMG, RBS, RBI, BIRA, Hyperverge, and several others. Again, now finally coming to our batch of 2020 to 2022, it's a batch of 71 students, including 43 freshers and 28 students having work experience with an average work experience amounting to 24 months. This is also the second batch after 2021, which included students from commerce background. This is all about our department. Today, we are all privileged to have with us Mr. Tanmoy Chakrabarty for Avenir 2020, the flagship event of DOMS IIT Roorkee. Mr. Chakrabarty has a long and diverse work experience of more than 3 decades in the corporate field. He has worked with various firms such as Eureka Forbes, Bradma Limited, Siemens Network Information System Limited, EDS, and TCS. Currently, he is the Group Government Affairs Officer at Tata Sons Limited. Given such a rich and diverse work experience, it would not be an exaggeration to say that the students are going to benefit immensely from this session. So without further ado, I would request Mr. Chakrabarty to share his insights and enlighten us through this session. Over to you, sir. Please.
Thank you, Naveen. I hope I'm audible to all of you. Firstly, it's a pleasure for me to be with you this evening. I know that we are coming to the fag end of the workshop and the Avenir 2020, the 2020 that you have set up. I was quite impressed with what I heard about the 3 batches that you talked about of management studies students. But my question is that why was there a dip from 77 to 47 and then you are back to 71 in 2022 batch? Why was there a dip in the 2021 batch? Any reason?
So we set a limit to the lowest percentile that we go to, and at times the admission calendar varies a bit, and we might not have a chance to fill in all of our seats, and we refuse to go below
Okay.
a certain percentile.
Okay. But anyway, I'm happy to see that you're back to post 70 levels in the 2022 batch, which is quite encouraging. So I want to firstly renew my memories of IIT Roorkee. I used to be visiting IIT Roorkee many years ago in my career. I was responsible of setting up a lot of information technology in your IT department, your IT faculty in Roorkee from my Siemens Nixdorf days. And I'm talking about 96 to 99, that I used to quite often visit your campus and meet up with your head of faculty as well as dean and vice chancellor and everybody in the very, very historic university that all of you have the experience of going through. So it's a delight for me to be again engaging with the students of an university. At that time it was IIT, not an IIT Roorkee, it was, I think, an REC, if I'm not mistaken. Was it called an REC at that time, a Roorkee, or was it University of Roorkee? I can't recollect. I'm talking about 96 to 99.
It was the University of Roorkee.
It used to be called
University of Roorkee. University of Roorkee, yes. So, of course, your journey has also evolved. You have become an IIT now, an institution, and I can see the historic building as a background of many of you on the screen. So I don't know. I've been watching a little bit of what others have been speaking to you for the last 2 days, and I hope you have all been gaining from all the interactions that you've had with all the speakers who have come, and my thoughts. I thought I would share with you a scenario as to what you would see in the future as you are going to emerge with your degrees, and you're going to evolve from the university with your management degree in a post-COVID environment. So I thought I will just share a few thoughts with you on what life is going to be like in the post-COVID world for a management graduate, or indeed humanity as a whole, and what opportunities you can therefore seek, as all of you are aspiring to get into the entrepreneurial or the corporate world as a result of post your academic inputs that you are undergoing right now. So I thought I will have a kind of a interactive dialogue or discussion with you and paint the scenario of what it's going to be in the post-COVID world that you're going to be facing and embracing as you start your careers all over again. I know that some of you have come out of work experience into the management program, and you're going to go back either as of employment, or you're going to be getting into some of the logos that come and take up students from your institution and help you build careers in those corporate entities. So the what is the Tata Group undergoing, in the post-COVID, or as we are actually living in COVID times? We can't say it's post-COVID because we haven't seen the discovery of the vaccine. And once there is the vaccine, there is going to be the logistical distribution of ensuring that people around the world are actually vaccinated. And then we can call it a post-COVID world, I guess. So till such time, we are living in COVID times. So I think a couple of things that come to readily to mind is, one is that the entire paradigm of a work environment has been turned on its head as a result of COVID. You can see companies like TCS who are saying now that 25 by 25, I don't know, many of you would have heard this slogan coming out of Tata Consultancy, where they're saying that 25% of the workforce is actually going to be working in physical offices of TCS by the year 2025, which means 75% of the workforce of TCS right now, the number is 470,000 people are actually going to be working from homes. There is definitely going to be a huge impact on commercial office space and real estate markets. So many of you may want to avoid going into anywhere near commercial real estate companies, because it is certainly going to see a huge downswing as there is going to be a huge amount of availability with very little demand. So that is clearly one trend that you're going to encounter in the post-COVID environment. As far as some of the other Tata companies are concerned, like our airlines, the two that we have, Vistara and AirAsia, Tata AirAsia, have taken considerable hits as a result of the COVID environment. So hospitality, civil aviation, travel and leisure, these are things that have taken big hits in the COVID environment. And, there will be a huge recovery path and a roadmap that is going to be encountered by these companies going forward. When you talk about automobiles, which is another major segment that we are in, Tata Motors has also taken a big hit in terms of volumes plummeting. Most specifically, passenger cars have taken a big hit. And now we are seeing early signs of a revival where people are wanting to buy passenger vehicles to be keeping themselves insulated from public transportation because of the fear of the COVID. So there is a little bit of an upswing, and we are seeing early signs of recovery of a company like Tata Motors. But when you look at the beyond the Tata Group, when you look at the domestic scenario, and I will cover the India scenario first, what did we see in the COVID situation? We saw all of you basically going back home from hostels, universities, colleges, schools shutting down, the whole digital e-classroom concept emerging. And the biggest discovery that, and the revelation that we had as a country was how underprepared we were from a digital connectivity perspective. And everybody was running from pillar to post to be able to get proper, stable, and adequate bandwidth, internet bandwidth, to be able to then stay connected, specifically with your professors. And for every other activity, everybody was moving to a digital platform as compared to physical interface and physical meetings. So clearly, the digital infrastructure of the country is definitely being tested as we speak, as indeed it needs to get bolstered as we speak, specifically in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 parts of India, which is basically majority of the country. If you look at it, very little of the country is actually in the 4, 5 metro cities, and the majority of the country is basically in the tier 3, tier 4 cities and villages. So that is where, when you look at the government now accelerating and the Prime Minister giving a deadline for the BharatNet initiative to be completed, we are talking about fiber being drawn to every single village of the country. So there will be definitely a huge consumption of bandwidth going forward, whether it is through static computing technology or, more importantly and more prominently, through the access to mobiles over internet. That is going to be the way forward in life. I mean, right now we are digitally in a virtual conference, each one respectively staying in their own homes or perhaps in their own workplaces, and that is going to be the way going forward. So we have seen a clear death of the corporate office, so to say, and companies such as TCS, for example, haven't lost any productivity in spite of the fact that they've moved over 2 lakh people from their offices and they are all working from homes. In fact, their schedule of work, their pipeline of work is only increasing, and they are able to manage through adequate productivity being generated from people working from homes. So that's one trend that we've seen. The second trend that we have all seen is the flight of migrant labor. We saw on TV, all of us saw on TV the scenes that took place where people who didn't have homes, who had homes basically attached to the workplace or the project sites of workers, daily wage workers all over the country, and several other kinds of workers who mostly worked on daily or weekly wage basis. There was a flight of migrant labor from the respective towns where they were offered the work, For example, diamond polishers in city of Surat or many other construction workers in the major metropolitan cities, they all, in a very, very horrible way, had to head back to their villages because their work shut down. Simply, there was no work. And the biggest challenge that India has today is the ability or the inability to be able to catalog these people and the skills that they existed in a pre-COVID environment. And now, how do you connect them back once the COVID eases and there is the need to get the opportunities of work back with the skills that have to be matched? And there is no database. All of these workers were working in an informal economy, and therefore, that's a huge task ahead. Many of the workers who have gone back to the villages have actually got engaged in the National Rural Employment Guarantee Program, and they have basically got attached to projects in the villages, and they have got such a huge rude shock as a result of the COVID. Many of them are traumatized actually to go back to the city and urban environment to get back their work or what they were kind of semi-skilled in and whatever work they were doing. So there is also a huge psychological impact on workers for COVID. When you look at some of the other trends, I think the biggest revelation that we had as a country was how inadequate our healthcare infrastructure was. It was at one time completely being tested to its seams, and exposures were being made of how inadequate our healthcare infrastructure is as a country to be able to handle a pandemic such as this. One heard of tales of people struggling to even get a bed in hospitals. Hospitals were overwhelmed. Frontline health workers were completely stretched. They were working overtime with very little support, and many of them were not getting paid. For example, right now there is a protest going on in Delhi amongst the frontline workers where they haven't been paid for 4 months. And there is political bickering going on between MCD, Delhi government, and the union government as to how they will handle that crisis where the frontline workers are actually on the ground protesting against their environment of work. They are able to they have to work for 14 days at a stretch, putting their lives at risk because there is such a huge and acute shortage of workers. Why I am telling you all of this is that I'm painting you the scenario of consequent opportunities that are going to emerge in the post-COVID, almost during COVID, post-COVID era in the country, and you will, in a very short while, kind of get a linkage between why I'm giving you this backdrop versus what I believe are some of the opportunities that are going to emerge for all of you getting into your careers, not just as corporate executives. I'm expecting that many of you in this conference are also going to be a part of the dynamic startup society that India is emerging rapidly with a lot of innovative areas and innovative ideas that can actually then help you to be a job creator rather than a job seeker. So the last point of challenge that, or I would say two more that I will elaborate, and then I will tell you about the opportunities, is when you look at the whole social distancing environment in which we have to live our lives in the future, when you look at the cramped up urban transportation networks, if you come to a city like Delhi, today 13, 14 lakh people are riding on the Delhi metro. There is no scope for social distancing in the peak periods of public commuter traffic. So people problems have to be solved in the area of urban public transportation. Problems have to be solved of how do you reduce number of vehicles on the road and how do you improve the quality of public transportation. That's going to be a major area of focus. Today, if you look at all our cities, each and every city, I don't know whether there is a river next to the city of Roorkee, but every major city today has a river which has been totally ravaged, and it is only generating black sewer water, and therefore that completely impacts the overall health of the people who live around these cities and around the rivers. And therefore there is, I foresee, a major opportunity emerging in the area of cleaning up of rivers in every single city that there is a river system to support, and that's going to emerge a lot of opportunities going forward. So when you look at decongesting the cities, I mean, some of the tier one cities in India today have no scope for any growth. So yesterday I was on a television program. I don't know, many of you, you were all involved in your seminar. You would have not seen it, but I can send the recording of that TV program to Somnath, and Somnath can share it with all of you on WhatsApp, is where we are saying that the government of India has to now focus on decongesting and not attracting more and more capital to the same cities of the country where there is no room and no scope for any more growth. There is the need now for the government to really look at the vast land of India and the districts which have hitherto been avoided or neglected, and let there be ease of doing business in places where it is easy to do business rather than coming and struggling in overcrowded cities which cannot take any more influx. As you know, the statistics show that India is going to urbanize by 70% in the next 10 years. By 2030, we are going to have more people living in cities in India than in the villages. So this kind of an influx that is expected cannot be accommodated in the cities which are already bursting at its seams. Cities like Bombay, cities like Calcutta, there is no scope for any more expansion within the jurisdictional boundaries of those cities. So greater city areas have to be thought of as we go forward, and newer city development, more of greenfield city development has to take place, where you have to spread out the investment of industry. Otherwise, there is going to be chaos, as indeed we have seen and we live on a daily basis in most of the major cities that we have in India today. Every one of them has a ravaged river which is generating black sludge and polluting the entire stretch. Every city has roads which are overfilled and overflowing with vehicles. There is no scope. I mean, the statistics are that in the city of Delhi has more cars than Calcutta, Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai put together. The record number of new car registrations is happening in Delhi unchecked. Where is the road space to accommodate this situation? 48% of road space in Delhi is occupied by idle cars, trucks, and buses which are parked on the side. Therefore, effectively, you have only 52% of the road space that is available for vehicular traffic. Now, I'm not even counting the amount of road space that is already engaged and kind of blocked by vendors and many other obstacles and construction which are illegally there, which are ultimately eating into the road space. So, how do you solve a problem of vehicular traffic with all these constraints in mind? So, therefore, what are some of the opportunities that are going to emerge for people like you who are just getting into the next generation of corporate India? So, I would say you should really be focusing on companies that are going to be involved with social good. There is going to be a tremendous amount of weightage that investors, public investors, retail investors are going to attach to companies that are going to deliver social transformation alongside reasonable profits. This is what the pandemic is going to do to corporate India. Not only corporate India, but it's going to do to the corporate world. everywhere, whoever invests are going to be focusing, and valuations are going to grow of companies that are there with an intention of generating social transformation. Whether they work in the area of things like potable water, or healthcare service delivery, or the environment, or climate change, those are the companies that are going to have huge respect. And every single company who are not in these areas will have to, or will be focusing a lot on and promoting and publicizing a lot of what they do to bring social good, because that is going to be the way of the world. This is what COVID has taught everybody around the world, is that what is the world, especially the corporate world, going to be doing to fulfill their responsibility of doing good to the society. So for many of you who are pursuing opportunities in the corporate area, I would encourage you to identify and see whether you can get opportunities in companies that are there who are going to deliver a social outcome, a positive social outcome, whether it is in the healthcare space, whether it is in the environment space, whether it is in the general transformation of the humanity per se, whether it is in river rejuvenation projects, whether it is in rural infrastructure. There is going to be so much of opportunities emerging, for example, in areas like uh, de-slumification of cities in India. Huge opportunities are going to emerge. We have, in the 75 years, slumified all our cities. Now there is a need for de-slumification of these cities so that you can create some amount of breathing space, some amount of hygiene, some amount of healthcare. Otherwise, our healthcare costs and our unhygienic conditions is going to lead to disease and destruction of the people that we have in those stratas of society. So give some of these things a thought as you kind of move beyond, and start making decisions on where and which direction that you would like to go in your next phase of your career. So certainly I would say opportunities will emerge tremendously. There will be entrepreneurial opportunities. For example, if I can spend 5 minutes on potable water, I don't know whether many of you expected me to speak of such things, but I thought I must share with you. 76% of India's disease is generated by people drinking water which is not of any quality of drinking, and therefore they are becoming sick. Now imagine, some of you may actually take up an entrepreneurial opportunity of creating water filtration, self-sufficient entrepreneurial engagements. Like, for example, many of you would have come from cities where there is a milk distribution through what milk ATMs. In the morning you go, you dispense the milk, and you bring it back home. And there are these booths. For example, in Delhi, Noida, NCR area, we have the mother dairy booths from where we get milk. So milk has been reached to the last mile of people in India. My thought and my challenge to some of you to think is, why can't we have water also distributed in the same way as milk is getting distributed through ATMs? Imagine, the biggest difference and the advantage is that, unlike the mother dairy booth where every day the bus or the truck has to come with milk and fill it up, and only then it can dispense milk, a water ATM booth can actually unit self-contained within the booth, and you can generate potable water and disrupt the price today which is being offered by multinational potable water companies such as Coca-Cola and some of the others, who are charging 80 to 100 rupees for 20 liters. And you can have an entrepreneur franchisee network of water ATM booths around any city and dispense the 20 liters of water at 10 rupees for 20 liters. So you are not only disrupting the price of potable water and giving quality water to the people, you are reaching it to the doorsteps of the people. You are also ensuring that 76% of disease, which is consequently translating into healthcare costs in the country, is also positively impacted, and people are able to live a lot more healthier lives than what they are able to do today. Most importantly, the people are able to spend less on water, which they are getting compelled to spend today, either by boiling the water or by buying expensive multinational company bottled water, which they are forced to do today. Imagine in each of your households, what is your monthly expenses of your parents that they spend on either filtering the water or buying bottled water or boiling the water, energy costs, and look at all the thing that all the costs that are going on attached to you getting a glass of clean potable quality water, which is not going to give you disease. So I foresee in the next few years India should be able to make an example, and I've actually written a white paper on this potable water ATM distribution concept. I've shared it with the Prime Minister, and I'm actually seriously taking this thought process forward as to why we can't disrupt the price market of this bottled water. Can you imagine? We are talking about thousands of crores, this whole industry. Everywhere you go to a restaurant, you ask for a bottle of mineral water. You go anywhere, you go home, you're asking for a bottle of mineral water. People have stopped having trust on other sources of water because they know it's contaminated, and it is indeed contaminated. So either you are forced to spend a lot of money on water, or we can devise this kind of a retail distribution concept. And imagine, it is not only going to create jobs through the entrepreneurs who can then man these water ATM booths and bring it to the last mile of the people. There would be another strata of people, young boys who can be on cycles, distributing these 20-liter bottles right to the doorstep of the people. And that creates another layer of jobs. So you can create a job generating franchisee network that's going to solve a social problem, a hygiene health problem, and going to help you to sustain and get a sustainable business going for yourself and as an entrepreneur. And I encourage some of you to really take this up as an opportunity, and I'm sure you're not going to regret it. I interacted with Mudra. Many of you may be knowing that Mudra is a scheme of the government of India, which is financing small and medium business. So this water ATM, 300 square feet with about 200 liters of water output a day, investment cost is about 10 to 12 lakhs to set it up. So we have a math which shows that if you are able to sell 180 to 200 bottles of 20-liter bottles a day, you can actually not only repay the loan, but you can earn about 25,000 rupees net of expenses, which you can go and sustain a family of 4, 6 people and create an entrepreneurial opportunity for that franchisee. Now imagine if you multiply this and create the reach, then you have actually created a made in India, Atmanirbhar, self-sufficient business model that's going to sustain, create jobs, take care of the healthcare issues, and create more healthier people in India because you're able to provide them potable water. I specifically wanted to spend 5, 6 minutes on this as a thought generating idea of what kind of a social transformative kind of an enterprise that there could be as an opportunity in the country as we go forward. And I would be happy if one of you amongst you or few of you amongst you take it up as an entrepreneurial opportunity and take it forward. So because you are going to solve a lot of these issues that we have today in the country. Then once we do it in India, you showcase this and you are able to replicate this in the rest of the world. Africa is waiting for this. I mean, in spite of the fact that there's so much of water in Africa, everywhere there is bottled water, and everywhere there is the monopoly of the multinationals who are completely having this entire segment on a stranglehold, and everybody there is drinking mineral water. So that's clearly an opportunity that can be replicable, made in India, first implemented in India, and then taken around the world as a replicable showcase. So this is just one example. There are so many of these examples that we can think of, which are going to emerge as entrepreneurial opportunities, specifically in the small and medium business, where many of your graduates who want to take on a leadership opportunity of leading as an entrepreneur can actually take up a business idea, business plan, and get it going. It's not always necessary for you to be joining a big logo. Today, the world is of startup culture. Today, the world is comprising of people who are converting an idea, innovating it right down to the business plan and creating a revenue stream out of it, and then generating value out of that company and moving on to the next idea. That's the way so many young entrepreneurs in the country are emerging from people amongst you. So give it a thought. Give this an idea a thought. So this is one. So I think I will not go on with my monologue. I just wanted to give you a teaser, share with you what kind of a post-COVID world or a pandemic world that you are getting into, which to my mind in India, this pandemic is actually a wake-up call for us. It is an eye opener for us to know the deficiencies and the strengths and the weaknesses that we have, and we have to really use our strengths to be able to work on our weaknesses. So I look at the post-pandemic world in India as indeed throwing up opportunities rather than people saying that no, everything is kind of lost and there is no possibility in the future. I look at this as an opportunity to go forward in many, many areas hitherto not addressed, which is why we are in this situation today. Inadequate healthcare, lack of concerted urban planning, haphazard growth. These all can be converted into opportunities from the weaknesses that we have today. Decongesting the cities, creating greater city areas like NCR as one example. There, national capital region. It is on the cards for many years, but perhaps now time has come for it to be implemented and converted into action as an example. So these will throw up a lot of opportunities for young leaders like you. And I would encourage many of you to actually take on leadership roles in innovating and using technology as the leapfrog platform, which is going to be inevitable in India to be able to administer 1.3 billion people, 1.4 billion people by the time we are in next year or next couple of years. It is going to be humongously impossible to administer through the traditional ways of the world as we have seen in the past. There has to be the ability to create uh, technology platforms to be able to cascade transformation and bring about change. And today, with the advent of cloud, with the advent of the mobile technology, today all of India is connected on the mobile. But what is it that we actually are doing with the mobile phone? Somebody has to sit back and introspect. We are using probably 10% of the capability of what a mobile phone can do. uh, Other than a WhatsApp or sending an SMS or sometimes occasionally calling somebody, what else are we doing? Where are the mobile applications that can help you to stay connected, increase your network, get into m-commerce, get into mobile governance? All of these are opportunities which have to be exploited by the likes of you, and those are all the opportunities that I believe will emerge for people like you. So I think let's stop here. I want to see if any of you have any comments, questions that you want to throw at me, queries that you might have, and let's use the rest of the time for interaction, because otherwise it's just a monologue. And I don't know whether I have made sense in what I have been able to share with you, but I felt that, other than all the management talk and all the other corporate talk, let us talk about what is the social transformation journey that we need to make as a country to be able to leapfrog and make up for the 70 years of inaction in some of these areas which are getting heavily exposed today. And I think, you can see around you that there is the will, there is the intention, and there is the youth force. I mean, we have a population, and we call it the demographic dividend. If we are not able to leverage the demographic dividend, it can end up becoming a demographic disaster. with many people sitting idle, and idle mind is a devil's workshop. And that is not what it is going to be. It has to be channelized into innovative areas, which is going to get you to carve your own niche within the crowd, within the crowded world and the competitive world that you're all going to get into. So that's what I would encourage you to think differently, think out of the box, look at all the opportunities. Don't necessarily go into a traditional mold of the way it has been in the past, because everything has been changed in the world today thanks to COVID. Everything has been turned upside down. So you have an opportunity to really start afresh on a clean slate. And that, I think, is the opportunity in front of all of you who are emerging into the working world once again after this program. So thank you for listening to me, and over to Naveen and over to your class representative to conduct. If there are any questions, please throw them at me. I would be more than happy to answer.
Yes, sir. Students have a few questions for you, sir. One of the questions is, as you were mentioning, some co- some of the cities like Delhi, Mumbai, and Kolkata, they are heavily congested. So, what will be the potential strategies for urban corporations to decongest them, and how will it be possible?
See, this is now being forced by, there is an entity called Invest India, which is in the central government. They are channelizing and completely diverting the attention of potential new investors away from these congested cities. So they are actually promoting, including the Northeast, which has hitherto been totally lost in the 75 years of India. Very little industry has actually gone to Northeast, whereas there is plenty of industrial water available. There are now emerging electricity grid and power availability and natural fresh air, etc., available. So part of this decongestion is going to be driven by government, who through the new investment opportunities are going to start looking at districts which have hitherto not been attracted by the government to say, come and invest in these districts. In fact, there are 115 backward districts identified out of 750 districts in the country, where there is going to be a lot of focus on industries, other activities to really start in those locations, as compared to adding one more company in Bangalore or in Calcutta or in Delhi or in Bombay. So that clearly is a strategy of the government, and I know for a fact that Invest India is consciously working on the unrepresented districts to be able to give them equal, if not more, of opportunities, and also offering more incentives for entities to go and invest in those areas. So that's one strategy for decongestion of the major cities.
Okay, thank you, sir. Another one of the questions by student is, you mentioned about the slums. So one of the well-known slums is Dharavi. So
Yes.
how long, for example, what will be the potential time frame for the de-slummification of this type of slums, and what will be, might be the consequences of those, because people live there, and social
Yeah.
consequences.
See, I mean, Bombay is the champion of slumification. It is the perfect example of how rampantly the city has been slumified over the years. And Dharavi represents the largest slum in Asia, all of Asia, in terms of its numbers of people who stay there and the number of hutments that are there, etc. So Tata Projects, for example, is undertaking the largest de-slumification program today in Bombay, which is called the DDL Chawl project. So it involves uh, temporary relocation of the slum dwellers to a temporary location, redevelopment of the slums into part commercial, part what they call the SRA areas, that is the Slum Rehabilitation Authority. They create those 110, 150 square feet kind of establishments for each family, where there is a proper sewer system, a proper electricity system, proper internal road network, and it is not the way it has evolved in a slum kind of an environment. So we are talking about a total transformation of the way the quality of life is from a slum area into a de-slumified area, and that is the roadmap. Yes, there are lots of challenges, the biggest challenge being that of a political obstacle challenge. It is nothing to do with economics. It is the simple opposition versus the government in power, and they are all for votes. They kind of create these bogies of protest, whereas it defeats the whole objective of the fact that cities have to be de-Islamified. You Dharavi cannot continue the way Dharavi exists today. I mean, of course, they have demonstrated in the COVID era that they have been extremely conscious as citizens of Dharavi, and the number of instances of COVID actually are quite less as compared to what it potentially could be because of the concentration of people who live in Dharavi. You know, they live over each other literally. There's very little breathing space in all of the slums of Dharavi. But yet, I think it is a tremendous case study, and the resilience of the people who live in Dharavi, that the number of COVID instances have been actually contained, dramatically contained in the city there. But nevertheless, de-slumification has to happen. Look at the number of slums that have been set up all over Calcutta or even in and around Delhi. You know, so those all have to be completely transformed, and the civic environment and the civic amenities have to be restored to the people. Even the daily wage laborers who come, look at the kind of temporary hutments that they stay in a very unhygienic way every time they come to work on projects, and all of them went away. So now, unless they are provided with adequate, proper, hygienic living conditions, it will be very difficult to attract them to come back to the cities to again work. So labor has to be, pulled literally now because of the pandemic. And unless you offer facilities of proper public transportation, clean, hygienic living conditions, clean water for them to drink, a clean environment for them to stay, it is going to be very difficult to bring them back. They would rather stay in the clean, pristine environment of their villages and look for some rural, work there to be able to sustain their families. So it is absolutely imperative that when 70% of India is going to become urban, from this movement of people from rural to urban infrastructure development becomes one of the biggest high priority items and opportunities for many of you. So that's going to be a sunshine opportunity, I would say, for many. So companies who are involved with urban rejuvenation would be companies to really look at in the future for opportunities.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Another one of the question is, you mentioned about cloud computing and how the technology is evolving. In the future also it will be more evolving. So what are the data privacy concerns they might occur in this area, sir?
See, it is a bogey. I mean, the world over today, I mean, nobody talks about any data privacy when they really use the benefits of a global platform like WhatsApp. I have never come across anybody talking about data privacy whenever they are taking the benefit of using a tool which is so proficient, such as WhatsApp. But every time there is some government to citizen transaction that is going to come into the picture, some people will get the bogey up of data privacy. Data privacy is a real concern, yes, but adequate investments in data security coupled with the continuous monitoring of these mobile networks and cloud platforms will ensure that you will be able to mitigate the concern of data privacy. So, question is, the time has come for the benefit to the larger masses to prevail over the vested interest of a few who are holding back anything to change. I think that's the thing that has to be understood. The people, because of the digital revolution, because of the advent of cable television today, People in average homes in India are getting 500 channels of television. They are able to benchmark their lives on a remote, real-time basis as compared to the way people around the world live. So the pressure is going to come on the government, on the agencies to really deliver change. And you are already seeing the mandate of the people are going to parties who are delivering change, and who are not delivering change are being voted out of power. So this is a very, very positive sign where the maturity of the Indian electorate is demonstrating that they are for transformation. They are fed up of status quo. So mobile platform is going to be, with cloud enablement, is going to be the way of us living in the future. And thanks to the pandemic, this hesitation that we had as a country, and many of the people who were sitting on the edge of adopting or not adopting technology, right now it has been settled as a score. There is no choice. Today, if you look at the rural students, even they are asking and clamoring for bandwidth because their children have to attend an e-class as compared to a physical class. So the environment has been created such that there is going to be no alternative but to have technology drive the new India for the 1.4 billion people. There is no other way to do it. And the traditional ways have all got to be completely taken out of the back door. I mean, I don't know. You must be attending your classes through virtual mode already with your professors. None of you must be attending class, and you must be already gone from your hostels to various parts of your India where you have your homes, and you are logging in from there. I'm assuming it. I'm hoping that that's the way it is happening. It's the same thing happening all over the country. It's the same thing happening all over the world. But it would not have come to this scale had we not had the pandemic. So in many ways, the pandemic is actually a time for introspection and a time for transformation, which has been fast forwarded because of the hit that it has on physical living in the world. You have to move to digital living, and there is no alternative, there is no going back.
All right, sir. Thank you,
So
sir. Yes, sir. Sir, another question the students are asking are, as you know that there are RO technologies which are being utilized for cleaning of water. So, are there any other low-cost alternatives for RO? Because RO is also often criticized for removing minerals out of water.
that's a very good question, very good, valid question. First criticism of RO was that the amount of water that it takes to create potable water itself generates a lot of waste. That is the first criticism of RO. But technology is improving to a point where today it has come to about 90%. So for every liter or every 100 liters of water that you can bring in from either a river source or a municipal water source, you can, today's technology of RO, you can convert 90 liters out of 100 liters into potable water. And only 10 liters get wasted. When I say wasted, it can be used for horticultural purposes, or it can be recycled and pushed back into recharging the groundwater. So from a situation where RO technology had about 50% wastage, so every 100 liters you would only get 50 liters of potable water. Today now you have a situation where you have come to 90%, and that technology improvement is happening more and more, and people are saying that we will reach about 96, 97 liters to a 100 liter situation of conversion. So RO has gone forward tremendously in this space, which was the first criticism of RO. Second, as you correctly said, that some of the minerals get destroyed because of the RO treatment. It is a valid criticism, but you have to look at overall what it does in the before after of regular water versus RO treated water in the context of potability. 76%, you have to remember at the back of your head, 76% of disease in India is attributed to drinking of contaminated water. when you are able to take care of this large problem that we have, and can you imagine what it can do to consequently the healthcare costs and how much savings it can create for the people who are spending the money on healthcare and who are also living a deficient life, means they are not growing up to their true potential because of the inadequacies of drinking water. All that getting eliminated is a larger objective to achieve as compared to counting the last point percentage of some mineral that it is losing as compared to what it is doing by treating the RO water. So that's some of those things have to be weighed now. Many of the criticism in India is negative criticism which defeats the whole purpose of transformation. I mean, I implemented the passport program. I don't know. I hope that all of you have applied and all of you have passports. You know, many people say that, no, you know, it's what a fantastic service delivery experience you have created of the passport program. But to me, the real benefit that has happened in the country with the passport transformation is that we have been able to eliminate that middleman in between, the tout who used to stand between me and the passport office and who would say, give me, 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, and I'll get everything done for you. So that income was 10 times more than the government revenue from passports. So the satisfaction that I have, having executed and led that program for TCS, was that we've been able to eliminate a parasitical society in India, which used to exist, who used to only exploit this gap between the applicant and the government. So many, and you will not believe it, we had a court case against the Passport Seva program, and guess who filed the case in the Supreme Court? The Travel Agency Association of India. Why? Because their ability to earn money out of their customers, because they would tell the customer, okay, you need a passport, give me 25,000 rupees, tomorrow we will give you a passport. That income ability had been eliminated. But sometimes you have to demolish some of these stumbling blocks in between to get a greater outcome. Today, the amount of cleanup that has happened and the amount of people, that the money that they save on account of not giving such parasitical, middleman money in between, is a tremendous net saving for the applicant, for the citizens of the country. So to your point, why I talked about the passport program is that sometimes the greater good has to be kept in view, and some of these criticisms that kind of hold back or become an impediment to change coming have to be, time has come for us to now really choose between the woods and the trees. We cannot keep holding back by putting some bogey that this is not going to be, that is not going to be. We have to look at the larger outcome and the larger impact that this is going to create for the benefit of the masses as compared to the vested interests of the few.
Thank you again, sir. And the final question of today's session is increase as a proportion.
Naveen,
No,
you're not audible.
I was not able to hear you, Naveen.
Sir? Sorry, sir. Sir, I'm repeating my question. Sir, actually, the question is in the aftermath of COVID, are there any scope to create better coverage for high mortality disease?
I didn't get, there was some problem in the sound. I couldn't get your full question, Naveen.
Sir, am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, the question is again, in the aftermath of COVID, do you think the healthcare cost will increase as a proportion to GDP?
That's another
Did
very
you get my
interesting
question?
question. Yes, I got it. I got the question. That's a very interesting question. I think if you look at our vulnerability before the COVID attacked India, we were so exposed. We didn't have PPE kits, everything was imported in India. Masks, PPE kits, ventilators, everything that had to do with the pandemic, India was dependent on some other country. And most of the imports were actually coming from a country called China. So the biggest wake-up call happened, and India mobilized itself to a situation where yesterday, there is a tweet saying 1.5 million N95 masks have been sent from India to the United States. And it just landed there. So we have been able to reverse the situation of what we were in a pre-COVID era to a situation where we are self-sufficient in areas. In fact, one of the Tata subsidiaries called Tata Autocom is going to domestically manufacture ventilators. The first lot of ventilators will come out in the next few weeks, and we will be self-sufficient not only to fulfill our own requirements for ventilators, but also send it to the rest of the world. So healthcare, to your question, healthcare costs and healthcare focus, if you look at the number of aims that are being spread out all over the country, if you look at the complete transformation through the Ayushman Bharat platform that the government has set up for healthcare for below the poverty line people, these are massive, massive investments and spends to a hitherto under budgeted, under focused segment so far in India, which clearly has exposed us and the vulnerabilities that we have as a result of that. And I think there is going to be, to answer your question, a tremendous focus on healthcare expenses and costs and budget allocations, and most importantly, our self-sufficiency in managing such pandemics in the future. India will become definitely a lot more prepared than what we were in the COVID environment.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for answering our questions, sir. This will be all our questions for today's session. And thank you so much, sir, for an absolutely ebullient session. And firstly, on behalf of DOMS IIT Roorkee, we would like to congratulate you on TCS surpassing competitors in marketing capitalization to become the world's most valuable IT company. Congratulations,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you. And I also want to share with you that we are, one Tata company is now going to build the new Indian Parliament. It's going to be the first Indian company to build the new Parliament, which is going to come up in the next 24 months. And we are indeed proud of that achievement. We just won the award last week, and our teams have already started working on it. I want to take this opportunity to thank Somnath for inviting me here on your Avenir, and wish all of you the very best. I want all of you to remain completely focused and positive, and look at all the opportunities that are coming for you in the future, which I believe are a plenty. Keep a positive outlook. The world is going to transform, and you have to adopt to the new way of the world. You have to adopt to the new India that you are going to encounter as you come out of the management batches. And I wish each one of you the very best in your careers, whether you get out to be an entrepreneur and take up one of these opportunities that we talked about, whether you want to get into a corporate work environment. Equally, I wish each one of you the very best. And I want to thank you for inviting me. I don't know whether this was the expectation of me from this session, but at the same time, I certainly wanted to cover that there is a post-pandemic world of opportunities opening up for you. Get prepared and go for it. Wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We are very grateful to you, sir, for making this evening an enlightening one. It was nice managerial overview of the initiatives India has taken to face this pandemic. We believe India has a lot of potential, as you have mentioned, and post-pandemic India will have a lot of opportunities, and will definitely overcome social and economic problems which we are facing right now. It was a promising session for budding managers like us, sir. Thank you once again. And
Thank
also
you. All the best.
yes, sir. And also, we are delighted, sir, to announce to you that on this occasion of Avenir, we have taken an initiative of breaking darkness. Avenir means future in French, and the best way to add meaning to the event would be to help shape the future and help someone grow. There's no better helping hand for growth than education. So each year, starting from this year, DOMS will be donating a sum to Hope Foundation for sponsoring the education of underprivileged girl children in honor of guest speaker gracing our conclave. So please accept it, sir.
This is an excellent initiative, and I congratulate you for this thought. And no child left behind, no girl left behind. I think it's a very, very, very noble cause to pursue, and I'm very happy to see that all of you are putting and chipping together to be able to do this. And today, last week we had an announcement that there was a lady who is now going to fly the Rafale, which has just come in. So, I think they just need opportunities in India to be able to evolve and emerge and break the glass ceiling and really show their true potential. And I'm very, very delighted to see that you are, helping in your own way to be able to giving that equal opportunity to that girl child. And I compliment and congratulate you for it. I saw Somnath somewhere on the screen. Thank you, Somnath, for initiating and organizing for me to be here. Somnath, are you there?
Thomas, sir, you are not audible.
Yes, I can see you, but I can't hear you.
Sir, Tanmoy, sir, I think Somnath, sir, is facing some connectivity issues.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to hold back all the other of your colleagues. I want to wish you all a very good evening. Stay safe. Get geared up for the challenges of tomorrow, and tomorrow will be yours if you keep the focus and go for the opportunities. Take care. All the best. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, and vote of thanks from us, sir.
Thank you very much. We'll stay in touch. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. You have my coordinates. Reach out to me anytime. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.